asylums and sent people on into the society where we did not provide the community health centers. Second point, the vast majority of people involved in gun violence are clinically sane. Third point, defining an assault weapon is hard enough. Try and define mental health, and try and do so with respecting privacy concerns with doctor and patient relationships. Rick referred to the feeling of increased violence in the country. It's not true, though. People may feel that way, but there's been a stunning drop in gun violence and murders, cut it in half for 20 years.
Except for the suicides, and we had more troops commit suicide in
Jacob, say hi.
last year than were killed in combat.
Hi.
That happened
Hi.
with guns.
And the other thing is,
Or not.
there's been an increase in these mass shootings, all of which are related to a combination of a gun, a high-velocity gun with large magazines, and somebody that was mentally ill. And part of the system, which I give the president credit for, is that there wasn't even an ability of people in hospitals and in people in institutions to ask somebody that came in
Right.
with ill health, mentally ill, and ask them if there was guns in their home. They even asked that question.
Because the NRA cut that out of the
Jacob's
record.
stash.
The shooter in Aurora, Colorado had passed 2 background checks. The shooter at Virginia Tech had passed 2 background checks. So the idea that there's a panacea out there is just
It's not a panacea, but what about the president's argument that if it can stop even one of these horrific shootings, it's worth a try? Well, how many people are you're going to deny guns who are going to protect themselves? I mean, there are more people who protect themselves and stop violence having happened to them with the ownership of a gun than it is people who commit crimes with a gun. So this idea that
Jacob.
the problem is guns.
Jacob, why do you destroy my house every day?
That can riddle a 6-year-old into shreds.
Here's what I would say about that. 50 years ago, you could go on a catalog and buy a gun. There were no restrictions on gun ownership. There were no restrictions on weapons. There were no restrictions
There you go.
on anything.
Clean up the
we have
mess.
a lot less violence in society than we do today. The idea of pointing to the gun instead of pointing to society and not one thing the president did dealt with Hollywood and gun violence and video games.
there goes that
and
idea.
all the glorification of violence.
Armor-piercing bullets.
Why do we need to protect
that?
Hollywood
No, but
putting films
I'm
in
not
front of
talking
us
about that. I'm
glorify
asking you
them? But I am.
I'm
But
Why
you're
is
deflecting.
why
You're
is this-
deflecting.
you are too.
Why
The
not
discussion-
armor-piercing bullets? Why
Because-
do you need that?
Because we're talking about a particular type of bullet that is and can be available.
Do you know where
to,
armor? Why do you need an armor-piercing bullet?
But criminals could. And having
And
the
police
ability to
officers
defend
certainly do.
having the ability to defend yourself is something that is a right in our country.
That's going to have to be the last word right now. We have to take a quick break. Lots more roundtable ahead. Can President Obama avoid the second term curse? What to make of the GOP's tactical retreat on the debt limit?